The phone call that's making history. President Obama called Iran's new president, Hassan Rouhani, as Rouhani was heading to the airport in New York after his United Nations debut. Their conversation lasted about 15 minutes and ended more than 3 decades of silence at the highest level between the U.S. and Iran. Here's what President Obama had to say about it.
The two of us discussed our ongoing efforts to reach an agreement over Iran's nuclear program. I reiterated to President Rouhani what I said in New York. While there will surely be important obstacles to moving forward, and success is by no means guaranteed, I believe we can reach a comprehensive solution. Now, we're mindful of all the challenges ahead. The very fact that this was the first communications between an American and Iranian president since 1979 underscores the deep mistrust between our countries, but it also indicates the prospect of moving beyond that difficult history.
President Obama said both men have directed their teams to work quickly to pursue an agreement. After the call ended, Rouhani's Twitter account lit up. A picture was posted of Rouhani on his plane describing the call as historic, and then a message saying Rouhani agreed ground should be prepared for solving of other issues, including regional matters. Foreign ministers tasked with follow-up to expedite cooperation. After the handshake that didn't happen earlier in the week at the UN, today's phone call is being scrutinized from every angle tonight. Our chief national security correspondent, Jim Sciutto, is joining us now. First of all, Jim, how did this conversation even come about?
Well, here's how the White House puts it. They say that they made it clear to the Iranians earlier in the week that the President Obama, that is, wanted to have direct contact, particularly this handshake we talked about. But the Iranians at the time said, well, diplomacy takes time. This isn't the right time. It wasn't convenient for them. They cited some problems back home in Tehran, but that the White House left the door open. And that this morning, the White House got a call from Rouhani's people saying the president of Iran would like to speak to the president of the United States before he leaves the country. Obama said, I'd be willing to do that, and they set up the call. Now, just in the last few minutes, we've heard some pushback from the Iranian side saying that the call was totally unexpected, and that it was the White House who was reaching out again. I mean, it reminds me of some of the backtracking we heard after President Rouhani's comments earlier in the week to Christiane Amanpour, acknowledging the Holocaust and then afterwards backtracking a little bit, perhaps worried about some of the reaction back home. But it looks like from the White House's perspective that both the White House and the Iranians were open to the call, and the call happened.
Yeah, and the president's national security advisor, Susan Rice, said the idea for the phone call came from the Iranians, but we'll leave that aside. There you see a picture of the president in the Oval Office making that phone call. I understand President Rouhani, though, got out a little bit ahead of President Obama in breaking the news.
He did. In fact, I saw this tweet happen. It was a few minutes before the president was going to speak, and a little bit of disbelief. So I started calling around CNN and to other officials saying, is this true? And then before you know it, a couple minutes later, President Obama walks out and confirms it. But the other way President Rouhani got out ahead was by tweeting the contents of the phone call, quotes about what they spoke about. For instance, how they said goodbye. President Rouhani saying, have a nice day in English. President Barack Obama saying, thank you, Hodafez, which is goodbye, basically God be with you in Farsi. But then those tweets were later deleted, including some more substantive tweets about the contents of their conversation. This one about, we're hopeful about what we will see from the P5+1 and your government in particular in the coming weeks and months. Some of the contents of the phone call, but those tweets now deleted off of Hassan Rouhani's Twitter account. So we don't know why that is. Maybe he's worried that he gave too much detail. Maybe he's worried about the White House reaction. I mean, the president of Iran is new at this, so he's probably learning about how far he can go.
What do you know about how people in Iran are reacting to all of this?
Well, we're hearing excitement. I'm seeing this on Twitter. I'm hearing from friends of mine, dissidents that I know in Iran as well. And I've been to Iran, been going there for more than 10 years. I've been there about 10 times. And in all my trips there, the thing that struck me about Iranians, even during the most tense times between the U.S. and Iran, people on the street would tell you, we remember better times with the U.S. We want better connections with the U.S. In fact, many of them would say, I've got relatives in the U.S. So it doesn't surprise me that you're hearing this, because this is a country that's been really cut off from the outside world, and they want to be reconnected. And they know we have disagreements, but I think they're very happy to see the President of the United States recognizing their own president.
Sure they are. All right, thanks very much, Jim Sciutto, reporting. History clearly was made today.